All right. Happy New Year. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the BettingPros NFL Week 17 Sunday morning live stream brought to you by BetMGM, where, of course, you can get a risk-free bet of up to $1,000 with the promo code BettingPros at first deposit. He's Fitz. I'm Freedman and Pat Fitzmaurice and Matthew Freedman here to highlight our favorite NFL bets for Week 17. At the end of the show, we will take a couple of questions if there are other games you want us to touch on. Fitz, I believe you earned some major dad points yesterday. You and your wife hosted a sleepover for your daughter and some of her friends, and you're still alive. Your internet is a little bit glitchy, so maybe there are some ramifications of all of the girls there at your house just looking at the internet all night long. But you're still alive. How was your New Year's Eve?
It was good. I survived having massive amounts of Chinese food and a good bottle of wine and two great college football games. Really helped me through it, Friedman. But I got to ask how your New Year's Eve was, because I think it was an even bigger night for you than it was for me. It was your wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
You are a TCU alumnus, so you saw your team get through to the championship game. How was it? Tell me about
it. It was great. It was a pretty good evening. I never would have expected anything like this. You know, when I was at TCU, they were in the conference. They were in Conference USA. It was just like unimaginable that they would ever get in a spot like this. So absolutely thrilled. And then 12 years of marriage. It's great. Life is good. And honestly, I couldn't think of it being any better, and of course, I'm glad that you survived, the trials that you had yesterday with the sleepover, because I wouldn't want to talk about this NFL slate by myself. It's a weird slate, not a lot of bets I like at this point, but there's still some value on the board, and we're going to go through it. And Fitz, the first game, this is just sort of like symbolic of this slate in general. The first game that you like here, the Chiefs hosting the Broncos as 12.5-point favorites. I remember on Monday, I distinctly remember you saying like, oh, I guarantee this gets to 14 or above 14. And I said like, okay, if it gets to 14 and a half, I will probably be betting the Broncos. It didn't get there, but I'm looking at this number, and if I had to bet aside, I would still probably be inclined to bet the Chiefs. But tell me what you are seeing with this game here, betting the Chiefs at 12.5.
Yeah, it didn't move at all, and I was really kind of shocked about that after the way the Broncos just didn't show up on Christmas weekend and got completely trucked by the Rams on Christmas Day. So, yeah, I mean, like, we've seen the Chiefs dominate this series. They have now won 14 straight against the Broncos, dating back to September of 2015, the pre-Pat Mahomes era. So, but Friedman, I like the Chiefs the last time they played the Broncos too. And it started great for the Chiefs. And then they just like completely took the foot off the gas and went to sleep and won by 6 and almost didn't win, like almost lost that winning streak. So it's just, can the Broncos get up off the mat after just completely waving the white flag last week against a very flawed, injury-riddled Los Angeles Rams team that scored on every possession, I believe, except for their kneel down at the end of the game? I mean, the Denver, like the one thing they've had going for them all year is defense, and even their defense just gave up in that game. So now they have to go to Kansas City, where, the Chiefs are still incentivized. They've got the best pure passing attack in the league, I think. And I can't possibly fathom a scenario where Denver wins this game. So, do I feel comfortable laying 12.5 points with a team that often just kind of bats around its prey in games where they are big favorites? I'm certainly worried about the Chiefs doing that, but in a slate where I don't really like many games, this is one I feel fairly good about.
Yeah, I hear you. I had this projected at 13.75. I haven't bet it just because, as you said, the Chiefs, they have a propensity for not finishing off opponents when they can, and that allows teams, especially with the big spread, to come in with the backdoor cover. So I'm probably not going to be betting this before kickoff, but if I had to choose a side on this, I probably would be going with the Chiefs here. One game I do like, Browns +2 at the Commanders. And, this part of this is just like anti-Carson Wentz. Since the 2017 season-ending knee injury, which I think really altered the course of his career. Since then, he's 26-36 against the spread, 14-21 against the spread as a favorite. And I think the Browns' pass defense is just going to be a little bit too much. The Browns were terrible in weeks 1 through 11, but they had key players in and out of the starting lineup due to injuries. They allowed teams to score pretty much at will against them. But since week 12, they have been like a brick wall on defense. 14.8 points allowed per game over that time, number 3 in defensive EPA, and is number 1 actually in defensive dropback EPA. So number 1 in EPA against the pass since week 12. Now, I should contextualize this. The quarterbacks they faced in that 5-game stretch: Tom Brady, Kyle Allen, Joe Burrow, Tyler Huntley, and Andy Dalton. Now, obviously, Burrow is great. Tom Brady, not the guy that he was in previous seasons. Kyle Allen, barely an NFL passer. Tyler Huntley, not really that great of a backup. And Andy Dalton, who's on the starter backup borderline. So not a great group of quarterbacks, but like Carson Wentz isn't really any better than any of those guys. Or like, if you look at that cohort collectively as a group, like he kind of belongs in that cohort. This year, he has a mediocre 6.3 adjusted yards per attempt. Since 2020, he has the same exact mark, 6.3 adjusted yards per attempt. Like, that's who he is at this point in his career, a very middle of the road, uninspiring player. And you look at the other side of the Browns, they have Deshaun Watson, who has been bad since returning. Even if you exclude last week's game, which was weather impacted, I don't think it makes sense to include that game because it's just not normal circumstances. But even if you exclude that game, he has just 6.2 adjusted yards per attempt since returning to action this year. So it's not like he's tearing it up, but we know, like, deep down, he's still a good quarterback. We have 4 years of him with the lowly Texans, producing at a near elite level, 8.6 adjusted yards per attempt. He's still the better quarterback in this game. So if I can get the better quarterback, probably the better head coach, and I can get them as short favorites here. Short underdogs. I'm going to be doing it. So Browns +2. That's the number at BetMGM. By the way, again, BetMGM, get that risk-free bet of up to $1,000 with the promo code BettingPros at first deposit. I first recommended this at Browns +2. I have this projected at Browns -1. Fitz, I don't know. Do you have any quick thoughts on this game here?
Yeah, I'm not feeling quite as good as you are about the side, but I do want to invest in my lack of confidence in Carson Wentz. So, this is a game, it just missed the top 3 plays as far as totals. Like, I like this under a lot, and I thought about talking about this on the show, and it was the last bet on totals to miss the cut. But I feel a lot better about totals today than I do about sides, and this was one of the ones I like. The one thing I guess that concerns me a little, Freedman, betting on the Browns would be just, I feel like now that the Commanders have Chase Young back, that pass rush with Chase Young and Montez Sweat and Jonathan Allen is capable of wrecking pretty much any offense. And, like, we haven't seen Cleveland's passing game function at a high level with Deshaun Watson yet. And is it going to suddenly kick in against this, potentially vicious pass rush today? So, don't love the offensive prospects for either team, but with a total over 40, I do like the under here quite a bit.
Okay. All right. I hear you. It's a weird slate. Not the best slate for finding great value across the board. One game you are looking at here, the Battle of Los Angeles, the Rams on the road playing the Chargers. The Rams are 6.5-point underdogs here. You like the Rams here in the spot. Talk to me about why you are a really big Baker Mayfield fan.
Yeah, man, maybe I'm just reading like way too much into the Rams Broncos game last week where, it was just completely one-sided. But I don't know, Freedman, like, do you get the sense that Baker Mayfield and Sean McVay have a little something going on? Like, I mean, this is the best Baker's has looked basically in his entire NFL career.
It's the best he's looked since his rookie season. I'm skeptical. I'm still skeptical, but I'm coming around. Like I have been moving the Rams up the power rankings each week. You know,
Yeah.
they're no longer the horrible team I thought they were.
Yeah, and like another area where they've slowly improved over the course of the season is offensive line. Like I thought early in the year, their offensive line was by far, I thought, the worst in the league. Maybe them or the Titans. It was close, but really bad offensive line, and they've played better lately. And they got the running game going last week with Cam Akers. So the Rams just haven't gone quietly here, even though they're out of the playoff hunt and don't have Aaron Donald. And just even before that game against the Broncos, where they were so impressive, didn't totally embarrass themselves the week before against the Packers in Lambeau Field. And then played a couple of close games, lost to the Seahawks in week 13, beat the Raiders in week 14. So they've been spunky over the last 4 weeks. And if you look at the Football Outsiders DVOA, overall, the Chargers are 21st, Chargers 21st, Rams 22nd. And as you mentioned, Freedman, there is no home field advantage here for the Chargers. I mean, technically, it's their season ticket holders, who are the ones who sell their seats to out-of-town visitors every week. There's just really nothing as far as the home field advantage. It's maybe a point at most. So 6.5 seems pretty generous. I also don't feel great about the Chargers defense without Derwin James this week. I mean, he's a big component of that defense, which can be really hit or miss from week to week anyway. So I don't know. I think without Derwin, maybe the Rams can do some business on offense this week.
Yeah, this number has actually moved to 6 at PointsBet. So the market is moving in your direction here. And, on the look ahead, I believe this number was 8.5, and then it moved to 8. And then it reopened, I believe, at, let me make sure I'm giving right numbers here. It reopened on Sunday night at 7.5 and quickly moved through the 7 to 6.5 and now 6 at PointsBet. So you're on the right side of the market here, so I'm going to say I'm a little bit tentative about your bet. I have it projected at 7.5. And so I haven't bet it yet because I don't like betting on the Chargers as big favorites because they do tend to play down to the level of their competition, which is something that's kind of hard to model. And so, I know that there's a chance that my projection just isn't accurately factoring that in. So I haven't taken a bet on it. I don't think I'm going to. My model says one thing, the market says another thing. I'm probably just going to stay away, but I can see your point here. And there's a very good chance I haven't adjusted the Rams enough based on what we've seen out of them recently. Okay. I'm on San Francisco, which feels disgusting. The 49ers on the road in Las Vegas, 9.5 point favorites. Man, I hate laying big favorites. I hate doing it with Kyle Shanahan, especially. But Shanahan on the road, including the postseason, has been pretty good throughout his career. 30-20 against the spread on the road. And then Brock Purdy, opening his career 3-0 against the spread. He's been Garoppolo-esque. Just in terms of his efficiency within that offense. And I think there's a pretty big difference between what we've seen out of him through 3 games. And granted, it's just 3 games, but what we've seen out of him through 3 games and Jarrett Stidham. If I'm going to be positive, Jarrett Stidham is a 4-year veteran who has spent his entire career under head coach Josh McDaniels, first with the Patriots, now with the Raiders. So he should be as prepared for this game as any backup quarterback could be. Like, he knows the system. Like, let's just give him the benefit of that. Like, he knows the system. He has spent his entire career in this system. So that's the optimistic view. The negative view, or I should say, I think the more realistic view, is that this is a 4th rounder with little experience and no NFL starts. He has just 61 pass attempts in his career. He's looked awful on those 61 pass attempts. 3.3 adjusted yards per attempt. That is that's an Ian Book type of number. Like it is really bad. He's looked awful just 342 yards on those 61 pass attempts, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's also had a 9% sack rate, and he offers nothing in the running game. So that going against the 49ers defense, which is number 1 in EPA per play, number 2 in drop back EPA. Man, like this is a rough spot for a guy making his first NFL start. So regardless of whatever you think about Derek Carr, Stidham is an unquestioned downgrade, and I think a pretty significant one. So with this matchup, I'm very happy to bet against Jared Stidham. So this number is actually 9 at PointsBet. I bet it at 5. Shout out me, bet it at 5 on Monday before the quarterback switch was announced. So got a little bit lucky there, but logged it, of course. 1 second. Here it comes. Got to get everything set up here. I logged it in the BettingPros app. Where you can sync up with sportsbooks, get free betting advice and picks, and track different experts and your own bets. And you can set alerts. We monitor all the major sportsbooks. So when one of them has a line move that hits a threshold you've set, you get an alert. Download the app today in the Apple or the Google Play Store. Okay, so my personal projection for the 49ers is 11.5. I think there's a lot of value below the key number of 10 at 9 or 9.5, depending on where you are betting it. Fitz, we're both on this next game here. Actually, I don't know. Do you have anything you want to say about the 49ers or not really?
Yeah, I mean, I share your concerns about Jared Stidham and what that offense is going to look like. And I've lost some bets on where I bet against the Raiders this week, and they rallied in spots where I didn't expect them to rally. I have a hard time seeing them rally after basically pulling the plug on the Derek Carr era. Like I would be shocked if that inspired like some sort of, great late season uprising against one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah. I mean, the Raiders are without Chandler Jones on the offensive line, Denzel Perryman at linebacker, and Rock Ya-Sin at cornerback. Like they're missing key players at all levels of the defense. Just like, okay, good luck with this.
Yeah.
Okay, one game that you and I are both on. Bengals +1 hosting the Bills. By the way, we're giving away a free signed Isaiah McKenzie Buffalo Bills mini helmet from Pristine Auction. If you want a chance to win it, subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel right now. Comment below on the video. If you have a game you want us to talk about, you have a question, we will hit it at the end of the show, and then we will announce a winner on the channel in a future episode. So turn on those notifications. Fitz, I have these two teams power rated pretty similarly at this point. What are you seeing with this game here? Bengals +1 at home against the Bills.
Yeah, your points on this one might be a little more salient than mine are, because as I mentioned, I don't really like a lot of sides this week, Freedman. And this is sort of a borderline one for me, but I guess my main premise here is that I don't think the Bengals should be home underdogs to anyone. Like they've won 7 straight, and during this streak, they have not exactly trucked opponents and mowed them down the way the 49ers have, for instance, on their winning streak, but still pretty convincing nonetheless. And we're just seeing this offense operate at such a high level now with Joe Burrow. And I'm a little concerned about, the Bills, if they don't have Jordan Poyer for this one. That would be a big loss. And he hasn't been ruled out completely yet, but I believe he had not practiced all week, or maybe got a limited one. I think
he got a limited practice on Friday, which is giving me just enough where right now I am projecting him in, but it's a little bit of a toss up.
Yeah, that's close to 50-50, I would think. So, maybe can't count on that. But I know in Massey Peabody, their power rankings, I think it's less than a 2-point gap between these two teams on a neutral site. And it's not going to be a neutral site. I mean, the Bengals should have a pretty distinct home field advantage for this one in a game of this magnitude, and a standalone Monday nighter. So the crowd's going to be at a fevered pitch for this one. So I think there's a little bit of value here on the Bengals. I think I'm probably going to play it, but it's going to be a 1-unit play.
Yeah, I have these two teams power rated.
That's about it. What do you got?
Yeah, I have them power rated very similarly. Bengals at plus 6.5, Bills 7.25 points on a neutral field against an average opponent. So less than a point separating these two teams. And as you said, not a neutral field. And Joe Burrow has been historically strong throughout his career as an underdog. 15-7 against the spread as an underdog in the NFL. That is including the playoffs. And of course, if you are digging deep and going back to Burrow in his LSU days, 5-1 against the spread as a dog in college. So, I mean, this guy should, I wouldn't say like he should never be an underdog, but he's historically performed very well in that situation. And I have this basically as a pick 'em. So I will take the point with the home dog. And I like this more on the look ahead when the Bengals were plus 2.5. But I still like it now. The best number out there is plus 1.5 at FanDuel. And, the market has continued to move towards the Bengals. So I don't know if this line gets straight to a pick 'em by kickoff on Monday, but I could see it getting there. All right, let's talk about the totals. Fitz, over 41.5, Saints, Eagles. That is a bet that you like. What do you see here?
Yeah, for a relatively modest total, I think this one is likely to go over. We saw the Eagles offense continue to operate at a high level in, with Gardner Minshew at the controls last week. They look pretty sharp against Dallas. The Eagles offense is second in DVOA, and the Saints aren't terrible. Their offense is 20th in DVOA. So, while I don't think anyone views the Saints as a high-flying offensive powerhouse, they're also not among the dregs of the league in terms of their offense. And 11 of the Eagles' last 12 home games have gone over, and 8 of the last 10 Eagles games overall. I am a little worried that 4 straight Saints games have played under, but with a total this low and an offense as good as the Eagles, even though they're without their starting quarterback, certainly have one of the better backups in the league, great offensive line, great pass catchers, good group of running backs. I think this one goes sailing over a relatively low total pretty easily. I see this ending up mid to high 40s rather than low 40s.
Really? Okay. I haven't taken a position on this. I probably won't. I lean a little bit in your direction. I have this at 42.7. So I do lean in your direction. There's something about this game. We have Marshawn Lattimore returning. The Saints defense has been pretty good of late. And as you mentioned, they have gone to the under in 4 straight games here. And Gardner Minshew, he looked good last week, competent in terms of being able to keep that offense moving. But I don't know, playing outdoors, Philadelphia, January weather. I kind of want to stay away. But if I had to bet on it, I would probably be leaning in your direction. One over I am definitely taking is Lions Bears over 52.5. 52.5 at BetMGM. This has actually moved up to 53 at PointsBet. I bet this on Monday at 51.5. By the way, I bet it during the show that we record on Monday morning with Joe Pisapia. I bet it while we're recording because I was just looking at it. Fitz, I think you were talking about it, and I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to bet the over on this one. And my projection is 53.1. We have 2 over teams playing in a dome. Both of these teams are 10-5 to the over this season. That's the highest mark in the league. The Bears are missing multiple starters in their secondary. Since week 7, they are 8-1 to the over. Their defense is horrible, and Justin Fields is a cheat code at quarterback with his legs. The Lions have had one of the best offenses in the league since wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown returned from his head injury in week 8, and they have one of the worst defenses in the league. This is an over recipe. I know you were interested in this game earlier in the week. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I like it over 2. It's one of the totals that I'm playing today. I like about 5 or 6 totals today, and that is among them. So yeah, that's one of the 2 or 3 that didn't quite make the cut for me, but I am going to play it.
All right. One that you are talking about here, Cardinals, Falcons under 41. This is a disgusting game. We might see 21 points scored in this game, but what do you see here, Fitz?
Yeah, how do we get a total of 40 or higher with Desmond Ridder against David Blau in that quarterback matchup. Like, I don't understand this total at all. I'm surprised it hasn't been bet down yet. The Falcons have scored 18 or fewer points in 6 of their last 7 games. The Cardinals, since losing Kyler Murray, and I'm going to count that game against the Patriots where he got hurt very early on in the game, they've scored 16 or fewer points in all 3 of those games where they've been without Kyler Murray. So I don't care that these defenses both stink. I think the offenses stink worse, and I think they're going to struggle to score points in this one. Like, I'm really surprised that this total is as high as it is.
Yeah, no DeAndre Hopkins either for the Cardinals here. So, missing their starting quarterback, missing their backup quarterback, just skipping over their third stringer because he's so bad and going with the fourth stringer who, doesn't have a good record to this point in his career. And I believe Blau, like, he hasn't been with the team the entire season. He's just someone who's coming in because they're like, nope, we can't go back to our third stringer. So absolutely horrible situation for them offensively. I haven't bet it, but this is one when we're done with the show that I might go bet.
Blau wasn't even good at Purdue, Freedman. Like, I'm still not sure how he's got an NFL career going on. Like,
he's a locker room guy. He must be really smart with the X's and O's, something like that. But it's not for what he's doing on the field. That's for sure. Okay. One under that I am betting: the Buccaneers, Panthers under 40.5. The Buccaneers are a league worst or league best, however you're looking at it, 11-4 to the under. They are just a total wet blanket for points. On offense, they can't get anything going for a number of reasons, probably because of offensive line issues, and maybe those will get better. It looks like Ryan Jansen, I don't think he's returning for this game, but he might be returning soon. So maybe their offensive line issues start to improve a little bit, but I think it goes just beyond the offensive line. Like, Tom Brady is not quite the same quarterback that he was last year. And then on defense, they still have a pretty good defense, which is getting a lot of key players back this week. Carlton Davis is out, or I'm projecting him to be out. Edge rusher Carl Nassib, it looks like he's out, but they are getting back cornerback Jamel Dean, free safety Mike Edwards, importantly defensive tackle Vita Vea, and safety / slot cornerback Antoine Winfield. The strength of this defense is really against the run, and they've been something close to their dominant self when they have both Vita Vea and Akeem Hicks active. Both of those guys I'm projecting to be active this week, and the Panthers are an extremely run-heavy team, which I think will slow down this game. So it's, a late season rematch with the divisional title at stake. Both teams are coached by defensive decision makers. I think this is going to be a game that is played slowly and conservatively, and I think it's going to be totally nasty to watch. I have it projected at 39.2. It's 40.5 at BetMGM and across the market, so I do like the under there. Fitz, Jets, Seahawks, under 42.5. You are on that. Talk to me about that game.
Yeah, I like the under on Jets Seahawks at 42.5, Friedman. And it's actually, I got it today. I've waited to take this one until this morning. I got a juice toward the under at -105 on DraftKings, which kind of surprised me. 9 of the last 10 Jets games have gone under 42 points. And the last 2 Seahawks games have produced 34 points each. And it seems like their offense is kind of moving in the wrong direction lately. Geno Smith hasn't been quite as sharp. We don't know. I think Tyler Lockett is going to play with this damaged finger, recently surgically repaired, but who knows if he's going to be at 100%. I know one of their rookie starting tackles. I think he's questionable.
Abraham Lucas. I think he's out. He's out.
He is out for this one. So that's a problem. I think the Jets offensive line, I don't think anyone's been ruled out, but I know they've got some guys who are banged up too, including, I believe, George Fant. And I mean, part of it, I think, is like there's this belief in the Jets offense as long as Mike White is their quarterback. But, pardon the pun, but I don't think he's quite the white knight that people are perceiving him to be in terms of like pushing Jets games over the total. Like, I still see most Jets games as like these low scoring slogs, and I kind of see this one developing that way too.
Okay, and my mistake, I will say I am projecting Abraham Lucas to be out, but he hasn't practiced all week. He's very likely to be out here. Yeah, I see your point. Actually, this number has moved up to 43, so the market is moving against you. But yeah, I can see the under spot here. One final under I am taking here. We talked about this game earlier, Monday Night Football, Bills, Bengals, under 50. Now, I could end up hating this bet by halftime. Like it's not hard to imagine a shootout where these teams, like both put up 35 or 40 points. But both of these teams are 10-5 to the under this year. They both have good offenses, and I think the market tends to overrate the offenses when the market is betting, so their totals get inflated. But both teams also have good defenses too, and it's an outdoor January nighttime primetime game. That's just a spot where the total is likely to be inflated. I have it projected at 48.8. It's 49.5 at BetMGM. I bet it last night at 50 at PointsBet, but it's moved down to 49.5. But even at 49.5, not a massive amount of value from that to my projection of 48.8. But if I had to take a spot here, it would pretty cleanly be the under. All right, Fitz, let's get to the underdog money line parlay. At BetMGM, you and I have combined for a parlay of plus 439. If you plug that into our parlay tool at BettingPros, you can see those odds. I am on the Dolphins at plus 120. You are on the Vikings at plus 145. I know, let me see here. I think it was Eddie in our, no, what is it? Eder Leonard. Let's see here. I can click on that. Yes, he wanted us to talk about the Minnesota Green Bay game. And so we will do that. Vikings plus 145. Fitz, what are you seeing in this game here to make you bet against your own? How treacherous of you, your own Packers here.
Yeah, maybe I'm guilty of trying to put on the reverse jinx here, Friedman. But no, I mean, how much I've besmirched the Minnesota Vikings repeatedly on this show throughout the season. I don't think they're nearly as good as their record. All the underlying metrics pretty much back up that they're not as good as their record. But there is something going on with this team, and they do pull out close games repeatedly. We've just seen it time after time. Clearly, they're, comfortable in these tight situations at the end of games. I think we're going to get a tight game in Green Bay. Like, I don't think the Packers are, as well as they've played lately, I don't think they're playing so well that they're just going to spank the Vikings. I just don't see that happening. And, we've seen Green Bay fail multiple times this year in close games at the end. And we've seen the Vikings consistently succeed in those spots. So, getting 3 or 3.5 points, I kind of like the Vikings with the points, and I like them a little bit on the money line. I think they're absolutely capable of walking out of Green Bay with a win. And how much would the Vikings love to be the ones to end the Packers season?
Yeah. Yeah, I have this projected at 2.75, so a slight lean towards the Vikings here. That said, I never want to go against Aaron Rodgers at home. It's just the kind of thing I never want to do. In fact, I just normally want to be on Aaron Rodgers at home. And, he historically is crushed against division, especially when he's home. So I see it. My numbers are leaning in that direction. I haven't bet it, but I can definitely see it. Dolphins plus 120. That's the money line underdog parlay that I am on. Teddy Bridgewater, he knows the system. He's a former starter. He's one of the best backups in the league. For his career, he is 20-4 against the spread as a road underdog. On the money line, 11-13, which comes out to a 23% return on investment in that spot. So road underdog Teddy, that is the virgin that you have wanted to bet on throughout his career. And this isn't 100% in terms of a projection, but there's a chance that the drop off from Tua to Teddy is not that large. Like we've seen in San Francisco with the move from Garoppolo to Purdy, within the system, with this coach, with the wide receivers that they have, there is a chance that they can navigate the change at the quarterback position so that there's not a large drop off in the offense for this one game. So the Dolphins here at plus 120, the Dolphins are the better team, I would say, even with the quarterback situation that they have, a better team than the Patriots here. So even on the road, in Foxborough, colder conditions. I still think the Vikings, not the Vikings, the Dolphins are the team to back here. Okay, let's see if we have any questions. We do have one fantasy question that we will entertain, and then Fitz is going to answer all of your fantasy questions with an AMA that he has later. But one fantasy question that we have here that we will get to: Kenneth Walker or Josh Jacobs? Fitz, do you have any inclination on where you would go in this spot here? And let's assume half PPR, just to kind of cover the bases of all the different scoring systems out there.
Sure. I've got Jacobs ranked a little bit ahead. We did see Walker go over 100 yards last week, but for the most part, the Seattle running game has not been going very well lately, and they're going up against a tough Jets defense today. Jacobs, I mean, like an even worse matchup going against San Francisco, which has not allowed Freedman a 60-yard runner all year.
Yeah.
No one has run for even 60 yards. Caleb Huntley in week 6 ran for 59 yards, and that was the most rushing yards any players had against the 49ers this year. But we know, especially with Jarrett Stidham at quarterback, the Raiders are going to lean really, really heavily on Josh Jacobs today, both I think as a runner and as a passer. Like, I wouldn't underestimate the possibility that, maybe Stidham checks down to him like 6, 7, 8 times. So, it's not a real strong inclination, but I do have Jacobs ranked a little higher here, mostly based on volume.
Okay. And then one more question here. A question about props. Have you guys got any player prop bets that you like this week, please? Fitz, you have written an article at BettingPros. I believe you've written an article this week at BettingPros where you break down the different prop bets that you like. And then right after this, I'm going to go scour the prop market, compare that to my player projections, which you can find at Fantasy Pros, and which are incorporated into the BettingPros prop bet cheat sheet and prop bet analyzer. And I will post the prop bets that I am making in the BettingPros Discord. So be sure to check that out in probably an hour or so. So look there for that prop bet. But Fitz, do you have any player prop bet that you want to talk about right here?
Yeah, the one I'm really keen on this week is Geno Smith under 1.5 touchdowns, touchdown passes, which I think was close to, I think that was an evenly balanced line. I think it was minus 115 on that. And look, the Jets have not given up multiple touchdown passes to any quarterback since their last 12 games. They have not, and that includes Josh Allen twice, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Trevor Lawrence, Jared Goff, some good quarterbacks. And, Geno's gone 2 straight games without multiple TDs. So I like that one. And then I'll just, without heavy analysis, the other picks I had for this week were Dalvin Cook over 71.5 rushing yards, Rachaad White over 15.5 receiving yards, Drake London, who's had a target share of almost 40% over the last 3 weeks, over 58.5 receiving yards, Justin Jefferson over 95.5 receiving yards, and Terrace Marshall under 35.5 receiving yards.
Yes. So a lot of those players that you mentioned, so the Geno under, I'm with you there. I have that projected to the under. And then some of the players that you mentioned, the overs for, most of them I actually have highlighted in my fantasy favorites piece this week. And just kind of looking at that, Dalvin Cook, I have it projected for 78.6. So I'm on the over there. And then Justin Jefferson, I believe you mentioned, was it 91.5, something like that?
It was 95.5 last I saw. It was juiced a little bit towards the over. So maybe it's gone up and hopefully even out the money a little bit.
Yeah, I have that at 99.5. So I do see some value there to the over. And, the motivation angle does kind of come into effect here at the end of the season. Justin Jefferson, they're looking to get him the record, for most receiving yards in a season. They've kind of been open about it. So I could see them funneling some extra targets in his direction there. Okay, let's see here. How do I get this off of the screen? I don't know. Doesn't really matter. let me see if I can figure this out. I should be able to figure this out. Hide the current comment. Nailed it. All right, there we go.
Boom.
Learning on the fly. All right, so to recap the bets that we are making here on sides and totals and money lines. Fitz, you are on the Chiefs hosting the Broncos minus 12.5. I like the Browns +2 on the road at Washington. Fitz, you like the Rams in Los Angeles at the Chargers as 6.5 point underdogs. I like the 49ers -9, -9.5 at the Raiders. We both like the Bengals +1 hosting the Bills. On the totals, Fitz, you like the over 41.5 and Saints Eagles. I like over 52.5 for Lions Bears. I like Bengals Bills under 50. You like Jets Seahawks under 42.5. I like Buccaneers Panthers under 40.5, and you have Cardinals Falcons under 41. And then our combined money line underdog parlay with a +439 payout. You are on the Vikings at +145. I am on the Dolphins at +120. Fitz, what do you have going on the rest of the day?
So I'm going to jump right over to a Twitter takeover and answer fantasy questions from 11 a.m. to noon Eastern. And then I'm going to pop our Discord channel where people can go and talk to the Fantasy Pros staff directly and answer as many questions as I can there until kickoff. And then I'm going to work on a mock draft for 2023, Freedman, during the games while I've got Red Zone on. And yeah, it's going to be a good day. And I'm going to eat a lot of leftover Chinese food.
Man, what a hero you are. The mock draft, is that fantasy mock draft?
Yes,
yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you think I would usurp your, NFL draft early mocking? Come on. I'm not going to step on your toes.
How many rounds are you going on the mock?
5.
Okay. All right. That's pretty good. So top 60, putting the top 60 out there.
That's right.
Love it. All right. I will be updating rankings all the way to kickoff, updating our betting pros spread and total projections. And then this evening, finalizing the first round of week 18 betting pros game projections. And of course, I've already placed some look ahead bets, which you can find in the Betting Pros app. All right. That's going to do it for the NFL week 17 Betting Pros live stream. If you like the show, do us a solid and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks for tuning in. Good luck. Happy New Year. And I'm screwing this up here. 1 second. Got to get the appropriate end page going. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Good luck. Happy New Year, and see you next episode.